This time we've got a pitbike engine. It's a 140cc YX engine from a Stomp pitbike. The customers brought it in because you can't change gear. The gear selector is solid, won't move up or down, so we need to find out what's happening with it. First I need to remove the 8 screws holding the clutch cover on. So we'll take these all out. When I remove the bolts, I lay them out in the pattern of the actual clutch cover, so I know when I put them back which bolts go where. You can stick them through a piece of cardboard and draw a rough outline of the engine, but I find this is just as good. Now I'm going to remove the clutch cover, so I'm just going to give it a tap with a rubber mallet. So on the lugs, and there's another lug here that you can tap on here. Don't be tempted to put a screwdriver between the faces, because if you put a screwdriver in here and leave it, then you'll damage the gasket face and you will, or you could have a leak. And once it's loose, the cover should just lift off like so. Don't worry about the gasket, because it's best to replace this. If it doesn't come off whole, then we'll replace it at a later date. The easiest way to remove this centrifugal oil filter cover are these screws. If you try and turn them with a normal screwdriver, usually you can't undo them. So if you use the impact driver and just give them a tap, and then they usually come out quite easy. There we are, and the last one, number 4. We can remove this cover then. Quite easily. There you go. This cover just pulls off. We can remove the oil from this. Just soak it up. If you can see that the fines have collected in here, and that's how this centrifugal oil filter works. It spins fast, and the larger pieces get thrown to the outside. Any pieces of metal that's in your engine, and then it's removed from the oil and collected on the outside, usually on here as well, as you can see. So the oil filter is doing its job. We need to clean all this out before we put it back in the engine. Next I need to remove this castle nut. You can buy a socket to fit it, but I just I made my own out of a socket and an angle grinder. So it just fits on here. Then we're going to get our torque gun, and we just hold the outside and spin it off. We take off the nut, and we can pull the whole oil filter off, lay that to the side, remove this spacer, and now we need to remove the clutch. To remove the clutch now, we just undo the 4 bolts. We're going to remove the 4 bolts, spin them out. And we can remove the plate and the 4 springs. Then we need to remove this castle nut. Again with our castle socket. So we're going to spin this off. There we go. We can lift the whole clutch plate assembly out. Put that to the side. This spacer in here needs to come off, and then turn this washer spacer out, then that comes out as well, and then we can just pull off the clutch basket. Normally when you take a clutch basket off, it's good to check that there's no shim left on the bearing by the shaft, because sometimes the shim will be stuck to the bearing. When you turn the engine over, it falls off and it gets lost. And sometimes you may not understand why your clutch is not turning, and it'll be because the spacer is not in there, so just be careful. Now I can see why this gear change mechanism is not changing. It's because this lever here is jammed in the wheel here. I don't know if you can see it properly. Okay, maybe get a better angle. As you can see, the gear, this gear selector goes the shaft through the engine from your gear change. It comes here, and then this part turns with this lever here, and this is your gear change drum, and when that turns to change gear, as you can see, this lever here is jammed in the barrel, and this sprung lever, so we need to remove this and make this work. I need to fully remove the bolt from the lever. And remove the lever from the shaft. And put the bolt back in there for safekeeping. I think I need to remove this idle gear. I'm going to pull this off and take this sprung lever off, and then we'll be able to remove this from the engine. So we're just going to remove this idle gear with our circuit pliers. So there's our idle gear off. As you can see, there's a spacer behind it. Remove that with it and keep it together, or it could, if you don't remove it, it could fall off and it'll be lost. Remove this lever now so that I can take this lever out. I need to remove this bolt here. I think this may be an issue though with our gear change lever, because this is just spinning. It won't tighten up. It's looked like from the damage on the head here, it's looked like it's pulled out and it's been rubbing against the back of our idle gear. So we need to gear this out. I think we need to helicoil this thread. As you can see, it's just spinning, and I think this bolt was pulled out, and this has caused this mechanism here to jam up. So hopefully this was caused our issue in the first place. I just need to get this out, try and get this out here now by levering it out perhaps. Okay, so now I've removed this bolt from the hole. I don't know if you can see it properly there, but the threads are stripped right out of the hole, and so I think that may be our problem. This lever here, I think we may need to replace this. If it's bent, I just need to check if it's bent. But you can see that this lever here, it just turns this barrel, this gear change barrel, and as you can see, this is all free. So at least we won't have to take the actual engine apart. As you can see, this is working fine. This lever here just changes gear on the gear change drum, as you can see. So that's all working fine. I think if we repair this hole with a helicoil and set this back up as it's supposed to be, then we'll be okay. Repairing a thread with a helicoil, you can watch my other video on YouTube, and if you like the video, then please subscribe.